as we enter the month of April, the NFL draft is right upon us, and I did want to get into the first official mock draft that I'm going to be doing. We're going to be doing the entire first round. We'll see how it goes. So pretty much what we got here is we got it set up in a way where I'm going to be able to pick the entire first round. I'm going to do probably a few trades, but let's just get right into this NFL draft that we have here. And it's going to start with, obviously, the Chicago Bears. And from what I've seen, from what I've heard, and from what pretty much everybody knows, Caleb Williams is going number one to the Bears. He's going to be their next franchise quarterback that they draft. You know, I go back and forth with him. I think that it's possible that he could have a really solid career. If you look at Chicago, they've added weapons. You have guys there now. Keenan Allen's there, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. You have talent there. I don't like that Eberflus the defensive head coach, but I think that the GM has put him in a position to succeed. Mind you, they won 7 games last year. He might be worth 3 more. You possibly could be looking at a fringe playoff team. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but you could be. Number 2, I just think that Washington needs to go with Drake May. I think this is something that they got to do at this point just because Drake May is a bigger quarterback. He's going to get hit a lot. Whoever they draft is going to get hit a lot. It's going to be a rough year 1 for them. This is a good spot for May. It's going to be a better quarterback for them to have. Jaden Daniels, I think, can be really good, but I just don't know if they have the personnel in Washington to make that work. But they are a team on the rise. I like the new ownership group. So I like May with this pick, who is going to be a work in progress. Number 3, I do have 3 quarterbacks in a row. Jaden Daniels is a quarterback who I think could be really good. He's got a lot of athleticism. I think it's what New England needs. I think if you're looking at the quarterbacks they've had, aside from the half-a-year stint with Cam Newton that they went through, you've really had more of a pocket-style quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels is going to be a bit different. You have a new regime going on in New England. Why not pivot to a completely different quarterback? I like Jaden Daniels here. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I like that pick. And then at 4, we're going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr., who is one of the best wide receiver prospects that I've seen in my lifetime. Unbelievable player. I didn't get to see Moss back in the day, Randy Moss back in the day, and I didn't really get to see Megatron Calvin Johnson. I'm not saying he's as good as either one of those, but when you watch him play, he doesn't have the speed of Rice. He doesn't have the necessarily build of Calvin Johnson, but he's just a really solid receiver. People don't understand how fundamentally good he is. Bigger, like he's the same size as Randy Moss. He's going to be able to make play. If you look in Michigan, in that game against Michigan, he had some really nice plays in that game. Really nice against Georgia. He had some really nice plays in that game. I like Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think this is a slam dunk pick for Arizona. I don't necessarily love him ending up in Arizona, but I think that it can work out. We're going to do our first trade in this draft now, and this is what I've been hearing from several people, is that the Chargers are going to trade this 5th pick to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for this and that. I'm going to have to put some like a 3rd in there just because of the way this app works. I think it's just going to be straight up that pick, the 2 firsts from Minnesota, maybe another pick. But it looks like Minnesota is going to trade into this position, and it looks like they're going to get J.J. McCarthy. That's what I've been hearing. That's what I've been seeing. Now, I don't agree with it necessarily, but the one thing that I will say is if Minnesota does do this, Minnesota is actually the one team where he could succeed because you have a bunch of playmakers there. You have guys like the number 1 wide receiver, in my opinion, in the NFL right now, Justin Jefferson, is there. You have a good tight end, Hawkinson. They brought in Aaron Jones at back. You have a good offensive head coach, and O'Connell. So there's a lot that I like within J.J. McCarthy with this pick, because like I said, it's the only team that he could go to, but there's also a lot that I don't like. I don't think he's a top 5 rated quarterback. I don't think he's worth giving up all these picks. I don't know how much better that he would be than a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix. But like I said, if this is the guy they want to go get, this is what I've been hearing. I don't necessarily agree with it, but this is what I've been hearing. Then you go to the Giants at 6, and I think they're going with Malik Neighbors. That's what I've been hearing. I'm a big fan of Rome Odunze, but Malik Neighbors, in my opinion, probably is the better built receiver. He's quick. So this is probably the best receiver that they've had since OBJ. They need people. Like when you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback, you just need people. They lost Saquon Barkley. You need another skill guy. This is a slam dunk pick for them. Tennessee is going to be next up, and I think it's going to be Joe Alt in this position. From what I've heard, from what I've been hearing, Joe Alt is preferred as the best O-lineman in this draft class, which has a lot of tackles. A lot of future tackles are in this class. But, I think that he is from what I've saw in the games against good talent at Notre Dame, played pretty well. I like that there. Atlanta, I do like Dallas Turner, the first defensive player off the board. Really good edge player from Alabama. I think he had a really good year. And Atlanta, I could just see him going defense. I could see a world where they go offense, but I think I like Dallas Turner going in that spot. And then Chicago, it's tough for me because part of it you're thinking defense, and they could go after a wide receiver, but they did bring in guys. You have a pretty their tight end is pretty solid. I think they go Jared Verse. I like a lot about Jared Verse. I've seen his tape at Florida State. Had a really good ACC championship game actually, but he's a really good edge rusher, big guy. I think this is a future stud and a steal for the 9th pick. Mind you, the Bears have a defensive head coach. Then we get to the Jets, and a while back, I would have said to you that they were going to go defense for sure. I mean, not defense. They were going to go O-lineman for sure. But they've made moves in the offseason. They brought in Tyron Smith. I don't think they do that. I think they get a skill guy, and I think it is Rome Odunze. Because you have Garrett Wilson there, and Garrett Wilson is the true number 1 there, but they need a number 2, and he would be one of the better number 2s coming out of the draft. So I like that pick there. Then we go to the Chargers. It looks like Brock Bowers is going to fall to their left. Jim Harbaugh loves tight ends. Brock Bowers, one of the better tight end prospects we've seen in a while, and him falling to 11 is crazy, but there's a lot of talent at the top, so I think that's where they go. Denver, I've just been hearing a lot of noise this way that they could go quarterback, and I think Bo Nix would be a good fit there. You start to mark it down, you start to see, who would fit there the best, and I'm just starting to think that it would be Bo Nix, and I don't think Bo Nix is a great quarterback, but I think he's in a similar tier as J.J. McCarthy and guys like that. If you develop him properly, he could succeed. So I think Denver will go quarterback with that. Then we go to the Raiders. And the Raiders is tough for me because you have a team that could go quarterback. I just don't know if they're going to go quarterback here, which makes this a really tough pick for them. But I think that they're going to end up going with the cornerback from Toledo, Quinton Mitchell, and it just seems like their secondary could use some work. They have a really good defense. Maybe they want to build on it. Maybe you wait till the second round to get a quarterback. I just don't know the value in them taking a quarterback at this time. New Orleans, they have Derek Carr. I think that they're going to get And Derek Carr, I'm not saying that he's like the guy, but I think you're going to see Fashanu, that he's all the way here, and I'm thinking they're going to just go after that, get him. This is going to lock up their O-line for years to come. This is a guy that could have went in the top 10 picks, but I like him going to the Saints. Then we go to the Colts, and I think at this point they're going to go for best available, and I think they're going to get I think they're going to get a corner here, and I think it's going to be Teron Arnold. I just like the pick there. I like them building their defense a little bit. Their defense had moments of struggle last year, so I like this pick. Seattle, this is where it gets crazy again, and I think Seattle's got to go quarterback from what I've been hearing, and this is where they get Michael Penix Jr., which is a guy that I think could be really good in this league, and I think this is a really good situation for him. Let him sit year behind Geno Smith and then integrate him later. It's a really good landing spot for him, and I like him going there. Jacksonville, I think this is a clear decision for them, and I think you got to get Fuanga, the guy from the tackle from Oregon State. Get more protection for your guy. Get more protection for Trevor Lawrence. He's going to need it, so I like them getting him here. Then you go to the Bengals, and it's tough for them because they're a team that doesn't necessarily have a lot of needs, but I would say if there was an area where you could go if you're them, you could look to corner, you could look to possibly more O-line, and it's tough where they would go here, but I think they might go with Byron Murphy. Just a really good player. I mean, you can plug him in the middle there. You can get more guys that can make plays on the interior of that defense. Everybody needs a good defensive lineman. I like Byron Murphy with this pick here. Go to the Rams here. And when you have J.C. Latham just sitting there, I think you got to take him. Really solid offensive tackle. He was really good at Alabama. Like I said, this is a heavy offensive tackle draft, so I like Sean McVay getting a future stud at the line position. Then we go to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, it gets interesting with Pittsburgh because you would think that they would be going defense, but, I've been hearing more and more that they might want to go receiver. And if they go receiver, because they did lose Deontay Johnson, and I think their guy here would be A.D. Mitchell. Really solid player for Texas last year. Part of the reason they were where they were was because of A.D. Mitchell. Solid route runner. I think that this is a good spot for him to go. Then you go to Miami, and you did have the loss of Phillips, which was kind of a hit for them. I think they go more into their defense. They had a lot of losses. I like Latu here. Really solid edge for UCLA, and I think this would work well for them. If you're Philadelphia, I think they go corner. They just kind of struggled there last year. I like Wiggins. He was a good player for Clemson. They just need to improve defensively. There's a lot of angles that they need to get. Here's the hypothetical next pick for the Chargers. And I would think that Harbaugh would have a decision here, what he would want to do. But I think he goes with Kool-Aid McKinstry. Another cornerback comes off the board. This is kind of the range where you start seeing corners. I think this would be a centerpiece guy for Harbaugh back there. Faced up against him in the Rose Bowl. So I like this pick for the Chargers. Going to Dallas. And it's tough to say where you really go at this point when you're Dallas. They really made no moves in the free agency, and they've kind of lost a step at the line position. So I think you go with Mims here, a guy that I think they could use. He was really good at Georgia. I think they go offensive tackle with Mims. You're going to Green Bay here. And, I'm starting to think maybe they might go with a tackle as well, protect Jordan Love. And that's why I think that Troy Fontiano goes there. Another great tackle. It's a deep tackle draft, but I think that's what they do. Tampa Bay, you have kind of aging receivers in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Brian Thomas Jr., exceptional player for LSU. I think this is a good pick. You give Baker a little bit more help. I like going in that direction. I think Arizona goes defense here. The guy that I would probably go towards in this position that they're in right here would be an edge. I like Darius Robinson. He's a good player. Played at Missouri. They had a really good year. Obviously, they ended up kind of exceeding expectations, and a lot of it was to do with his defensive presence. So I like him going to Arizona. They just need a little bit more defense at this point. Buffalo is a position where I think they need defense as well, and why not take Cooper here, Cooper DeJean, and they did lose one of their better corners that they have in this offseason. This would be a good guy to fill that gap. I saw him at Iowa. He had tendencies that were really good. There was a bit of stuff that he can work on, but I like this pick here. Then we go to Detroit, who, coming off a really, really solid year. And I also think if you're them, you improve your defense. You have Hutchinson in there. But why not go in and get a guy like Newton here from Illinois? Just help out your D-line a little bit more, your interior of your defense. I like that pick there. Baltimore, I think that they'll end up going with an offensive player here because obviously Zay Flowers was tremendous for them last year. He does have an off-the-field situation going on. You have Xavier Worthy, a guy that's sitting all the way in this draft that's still here, who is a guy that a lot of people are thinking about, and I think that's where they go. And Xavier Worthy, the knock that I'll have on him is he's a bit leaner than you would like at the receiver position, but at the same time, that's not a deal breaker for him. I think that he's got a really solid, catch ratio. I think that he is a good pick for Baltimore. We're going to San Francisco here. So Jacob Powers-Johnson is a good center for them. He could potentially be one of the better centers in the NFL later. I like this pick for him. He's also, like I said, the best available guy at this point. And then Kansas City Chiefs, Keon Coleman, really, really solid receiver. Really solid receiver that they have. And I think that they need more depth at the receiver position, and I think this is the way to go. Comment what you think about this mock draft, and that'll do it. I'm going to do another one of these. I'm going to do my final about a week before the draft.